Heartwarming journey. White woman discovers hidden truth. Black CEO owns the airline after 30 days. In the quiet town of Maplewood, the news felt like a punch to the gut. Maplewood Air was shutting down. Sarah, a 34-year-old single mother, felt the weight of despair settle around her shoulders like an old, worn-out coat. The airline wasn't just a company, it was the lifeblood of the community, connecting families, friends, and dreams across the skies. Those dreams were now about to be grounded. When Sarah answered her first call, her voice wavered, but she poured her heart into helping the caller navigate their frustration. "I know how hard it can be," she said, finding common ground. The laughter they shared over a shared love for Sunday picnics and holiday travels momentarily lifted Sarah's spirits. She felt the buoyancy of hope, igniting within her, fueled by a fierce determination to ensure her son Jamie would not grow up in a town stripped of opportunity. But hope can be a fragile thing. Just days later, when the dreaded news broke, it felt like someone had ripped the rug from beneath her feet. The community gathered, whispers floating through the air, heavy with uncertainty. "What will we do?" they feared. Not ready to accept defeat, Sarah stepped up to the front of the town hall meeting, her heart pounding in her chest. "We can't let this happen. Together, we can save Maplewood Air," she shouted, her voice echoing against the walls of disbelief. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As she rallied support, there stood Lucas, the airline's black CEO. He walked into the small office, his demeanor the picture of resolve yet marred by the weight of expectations. Their eyes met, a moment of tension gripped the air between them. She saw the struggle behind his confident facade, the burden of leading an embattled company in a predominantly white community. Yet, somewhere in that clash of eyes, an unlikely bond began to form. As they dove into the company's history, Sarah unearthed hidden stories of resilience and triumph, and she realized Lucas fought not just for his company but for every voice that had been silenced. Slowly, she learned to peel away her preconceived notions, touching upon truths and creating connections. The town was alive with energy. They set the stage for a makeshift festival, their laughter blending with the sounds of celebration. Each moment ignited hope, passion, and unity, but just when it seemed that the tides were turning, chaos erupted. A shocking scandal exposed Lucas's past. Sarah had to make a choice, to stand for justice or preservation, knowing that the future of Maplewood Air and her own fragile friendship hung perilously in balance. Would she fight for what was right, even if it meant risking everything she had come to hold dear? The air thickened with unresolved tension, leaving the streets of Maplewood buzzing with uncertainty and hope. The town buzzed with rumors after the scandal hit. Sarah could feel the tension crackling in the air like an impending storm. As she stood near the community center, watching people shuffle in and out, whispers collided around her, blending with the familiar sounds of children's laughter and the gentle hum of summer cicadas. Days blended into each other, suffocating her with anxiety. In the early mornings, when the sun painted the horizon in soft pastel shades, she found herself wide awake, thoughts swirling. Could they really overcome this? Could they trust Lucas when everything around them seemed to scream betrayal? At home, Jamie noticed her unease. "Mom, are we going to be okay?" he asked one evening, his small hands clutching a Lego airplane, eyes wide with dependence. It broke her heart. She knelt down, forcing a smile, but inside she felt like a tightrope walker, teetering over a dizzying depth. "We're going to be just fine, buddy. We're a team, remember?" she replied, pocketing her doubt as if it could somehow vanish. Days passed, and still, no resolution came. The scandal loomed like a dark cloud over Maplewood, increasingly fracturing their community. At times, she would catch Lucas standing outside, framed against the backdrop of the airline's logo. He seemed to wear despair like a second skin, weighed down by judgment and rumors that buzzed around him like flies. Then one fateful afternoon, Sarah decided she had to confront him. She found Lucas in his office, the small room cluttered with flight information and concerned faces through the glass walls. "Lucas," she began, her voice steady despite the storm inside her, "we need to talk." His tired gaze lifted, locking onto hers. "I know why you're here, Sarah. I'm ready to face it." As they sat across from each other, she felt both his vulnerability and resolve. They discussed everything: the scandal, the truth, and the greater implications that could drown them if they let the town's fears fester. "I didn't want them to find out this way," Lucas admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "But if they knew the whole story, they might see I'm not what they think." Lifting her eyes, she absorbed his words. "You're more than this scandal. The way the town embraces you as a leader matters more," she said, her conviction growing stronger. He paused, a flicker of hope igniting within that weary facade. "Then let's show them who I really am," he said, determination smoothing out the lines of worry on his face. Together. From that moment, Sarah felt the world shift. They planned a town hall meeting, a chance to put everything out in the open, to make their stands together. As she left the office, her heart pounded with a mixture of fear and excitement. The sun dipped low in the sky, the clouds shimmering with the last drops of fiery light. Sarah could see it now, the community coming together, facing the truth, no matter how painful it might be. But even as she stepped into the enthusiasm of planning, a sour feeling twisted in her stomach. What if revealing everything backfired? And would they welcome Lucas back, or would hard truths only drive them further apart? The answers loomed like shadows, waiting just beyond the horizon. In that moment of optimism, a question lingered: could redemption be stitched together from the frayed edges of their stories? As she rallied the townsfolk, she felt the weight of her choice squeeze her heart. Could she truly trust the community to embrace change, to see Lucas for who he was now? The night air was thick with anticipation, leaving Sarah shivering with a mix of hope and dread. As she took a deep breath, the weight of tomorrow hung like a weighty string ready to burst. How would the town react once they knew the whole truth? Would they lift each other up, or would they fall apart once and for all? The day of the town hall meeting arrived, and the air crackled with palpable tension. Sarah stood at the podium, nerves coiling in her stomach like a spring ready to snap. The community center was filled to the brim, faces she recognized and some she didn't, all looking to her for guidance. Children squirmed in their seats, and adults whispered softly, the air thick with anticipation. Lucas sat beside her, his presence steadying but his expression tight. This was it, the chance to set things right, to lift the veil off the uncertainty that had choked Maplewood for weeks. As she glanced around the room, she felt the weight of their hopeful gazes pressing down on her. Lifting her hand, she cleared her throat, ready to break the silence that had gripped them all. "Thank you all for coming today," she began, her voice quivering slightly but growing steadier with each word. "We've been through a lot lately, and it's time we talk about the truth." She felt the room shift, the attention focused solely on her. This was vulnerable, sharing her heart and fears felt raw, but it was necessary. "I know many of you are hurt, angry, and confused. I understand that. Scandals can tear us apart, but they can also be a chance for growth. We can choose to rise above this, to see the bigger picture." Lucas nodded, his eyes shining with gratitude and challenge. Taking a breath, she gestured toward him, inviting him to share his story. As he spoke, Sarah could see the way people began to lean in, their skepticism softening as Lucas shared his truth. He told them about the challenges he faced in the industry, the mistakes that led to the current situation, and how it wasn't merely a reflection of him but of a system that needed change. The air felt electric as he continued, speaking openly about the fear that had gripped him, the shame of past choices, and most importantly, his desire to make things right. "I want to be a part of this community," he said, voice passionate. "I am not defined by my mistakes but by my determination to learn from them." As he finished, a heavy silence fell. Uncertainty hung thick in the air, but Sarah could sense a shift. Slowly, A man in the back stood, his brow furrowed. What do you expect us to believe? He challenged, the skepticism sharp and biting. Lucas's gaze didn't waver. I know trust is earned, not given, he replied. I'm not asking for forgiveness overnight. I'm here to show you who I truly am. His voice rang clear, conviction evident. Others began murmuring amongst themselves. Some nodded, while others still looked doubtful. Sarah felt the tension building again, but a woman in the front row stood up, tears glistening in her eyes. I don't know if I can forgive, she admitted, but I do believe it's time for a change. With every shared story of hurt and hope that followed, Sarah watched as the community started to piece itself back together. The vulnerability showed the weight they all carried. But just as things appeared to be moving towards healing, a figure loomed at the doorway. The atmosphere changed suddenly as a man stepped into the light, his presence commanding. His expression was unmistakable disappointment mixed with concern. Sarah's heart raced. Lucas. You think you can come here and change things with words? He boomed, arms crossed. Everyone turned to absorb the electric tension he brought into the room. As murmurs arose and the faces in the crowd shifted with concern, Sarah felt panic rise again. The fragile moment they had begun to build felt teetering at the brink of collapse. Would Lucas have the strength to confront this new challenge? With a clenched jaw, Lucas turned to face the intruder, determination etched onto his features. They needed to know, was he truly prepared to fight for redemption? Would he allow the truth to shine amidst the shadows? The stakes had just gotten higher, and the question echoed through Sarah's mind, would they stand united, or would the truth tear them apart even further? Lucas took a step forward, his chest rising and falling like a drumbeat against the tension in the room. And who are you to judge what I can or cannot do? He shot back, his voice strong but layered with an underlying vulnerability. The man at the door, a tall figure with a weary face and crossed arms, stepped closer. I'm the one who has been here. I'm the one who knows what your promises are worth, he replied, his tone hard and unwavering. His eyes flared with a mix of hurt and anger, as if he carried the scars of betrayal too. Sarah could feel the air crackle, each heartbeat a reminder of how important this moment was. She took a step toward Lucas, her heart racing. Please, let us hear him out, she pleaded, the words tumbling out almost instinctively. Everyone deserves a chance to be heard. The crowd shifted, eyes darting between Sarah and the newcomer. The unease was palpable, a fragile thread connecting the present to the past. Lucas straightened, determination etched in his features. You think I'm here just to smooth things over with words? No. I'm here to make changes, real changes. The man in the doorway narrowed his eyes. Change. Change doesn't come from hollow apologies. It comes from hard work, from understanding the pain that has been caused, from owning up to who you really are. His voice echoed, filling the silence with the weight of truth. Each syllable hit home, piercing right through the uncertain atmosphere. This wasn't just about Lucas, it was about all of them, the trust that had been ripped away, the bonds of a community strained to near breaking. A young woman in the front row raised her hand. But what does that mean? She asked, her voice shaky. How can we trust you if the past is still so fresh? Lucas glanced at her, sincerity illuminating his expression. Trust isn't given, it's built. It won't come overnight. But I'm not running away. I will stand here and work for it for all of you. The man at the door sneered but stayed silent, letting the weight of Lucas's words hang in the air. A few people in the back started to whisper among themselves, and Sarah caught fragmented bits. He seemed sincere, can he really change? Encouraged by their growing murmurs, Sarah saw a glimmer of hope. Together, we've been hurting, but we've also been healing, she said, voice steadying. Let us discuss what that healing looks like. Let us talk about how we can support real change. Another man, older with a lined face, finally stood. I want to hear what you have planned, Lucas. If you're serious about fixing things, we need to know how. This town won't follow you blindly. Lucas nodded eagerly. Then let us begin to talk. Let us create a community board, a way for all voices to be heard. We can craft a plan together, share our dreams, and face our fears. The crowd began to warm up, an ember of excitement flickering. Sarah felt it too, a leading thread pulling them towards unity. But before more could be said, the man at the door stepped back, rage flickering in his eyes. "This isn't over," he spat before turning to leave. As he exited, the crowd collectively inhaled, the pressure easing slightly. But Sarah felt the remnant tension still vibrating in the air. They had taken one step forward, yet the path ahead shimmered with uncertainty. "Look," Lucas said, turning to everyone, "I know I can't change the past, but I want to be part of shaping our future. Can we start that journey together?" A hesitation lingered, and then a small voice rose from the back. "I'm willing to listen if you're willing to act." Hope flickered, but would it be enough to spark a true transformation? As the crowd nodded slowly, Sarah met Lucas's gaze, both aware that their journey was only just beginning. What challenges laid ahead in their quest for redemption? Would they truly be able to turn the tide in Maplewood, or were they setting themselves up for another wave of disappointment? As the murmurs of the crowd filled the air, a fragile sense of possibility danced between Lucas and the community. They watched him carefully, skepticism etched on their faces, yet there was a spark, an ember of hope igniting amidst the uncertainty. "Okay, let us hear your plan," a woman finally shouted, her voice clearing the air. She stepped forward, fiery determination in her expression. Lucas felt a rush of gratitude. This was what he needed, someone willing to take a step into the future alongside him. With a newfound spark of confidence, Lucas took a deep breath. "We start with honest conversations. We gather stories from everyone, those who feel hurt, those who feel ignored. We can create a shared vision. A vision that reflects all our faces." Another voice chimed in, softer but firm. "And what about those who can't even bear to show their faces? What happens to their stories?" Lucas felt the weight of that question. "Then we reach out to them. We meet in safe spaces, places where stories can flow freely, without judgment. And once we have those stories, we build action plans, tangible steps towards change." A wave of nods rippled through the crowd, like a collective heartbeat synchronizing with the hope building. Yet, the man at the door lingered in the shadows outside, unseen but still felt, a storm cloud threatening to overshadow this fragile moment. "What if it doesn't work?" someone asked, a note of fear threading through her words. "What if we fail again?" Lucas's heart raced at the thought. He stepped forward even more, feeling the pressure of their doubts, but he wouldn't let them sink beneath the weight of past failures. "What if we do work? What if we build something beautiful together?" Their eyes met, and in that moment, he could see the flickers of doubt begin to fade. "Every strong foundation starts with a leap of faith," he urged. "If it doesn't work, we adapt. We listen, we learn, and we try again. But only if we stay committed to each other." Silence enveloped the room as everyone took a moment to process his words. It was a heavy silence, both daunting and exhilarating. Sarah felt her heart pick up, swept along by the collective breath of anticipation. Then, someone broke through. "I'm in," a voice called out from the front, full of conviction. "Count me in." It was followed by another, then another. Soon, the room erupted into a chorus of agreements. "Let us do it. We can make this happen." Lucas beamed, hope swelling within him. Each nod, each cry of affirmation reinforced their collective strength. They were gathering the pieces to forge a brighter future, rising from ashes of the past, but as elation filled the room, a chill slithered through Sarah. She glanced back toward the door, her stomach twisting. The man who had challenged Lucas earlier stood there, arms crossed, though his expression was unreadable. Could he really let this go? Was there a chance he would fight back just as the community began to unite? Lucas felt the change in the room, the heat of excitement still strong, but the shadows loomed, the battle was far from over. "Thank you all," he said, soothingly. Together, we are more powerful than any past mistakes. But Sarah's heart pounded. The flicker of hope was met with a contrasting bite of fear. Was this truly their moment, or a mere pause before the storm? As they began discussing their next steps, the air was thick with a blend of anticipation and trepidation. The sun outside setting, casting long shadows across the room, reminded Sarah that every dawn comes after the darkest night. Yet, uncertainty lingered, like the bittersweet taste of hope intertwined with fear. What would it take to truly break free from the ghosts of the past? Would they stand strong against the impending storms, or would the past pull them all back into the darkness? The community was standing on the brink of change, and the swirling questions of what was to come made Sarah's heart race. The next move had to be outlined carefully after all, the dawn was nearing. Would they welcome it with open arms, or would they shy away into the shadows? The room buzzed with a newfound energy, the kind that can only be born from collective resolve. Lucas stood at the front, heart racing, as he soaked in the unyielding positivity rippling through the crowd. Ideas flowed like streams breaking from a dam, each voice like a pebble tumbling forth, shaping the course of this new direction. The doubts began to wane, pushed aside by the excitement of possibility. How do we start? Someone asked, igniting a spark of urgency. The question hung in the air, and Lucas knew this was the defining moment. With a firm nod, he replied, "We begin by forming small groups, individuals from different backgrounds. Each of you holds a story, a piece of our shared history. Let us meet, talk, and listen." A man with graying hair leaned forward, a skeptical look dancing in his eyes. "And what if it gets messy? What if we just end up reliving our pain?" His words sliced through the buoyant atmosphere like a thorn. Lucas clenched his fists, fighting the urge to retreat. "Then we embrace the mess. Healing isn't clean. It's beautiful in its chaos. Every hard conversation is a step towards understanding." The murmurs shifted from doubt to contemplation. Sarah could see the gears turning in the minds around her, a blend of fear and hope swirling together, just like the rich colors of the setting sun peeking through the windows. There was a cost to this journey, a risk, but the potential for growth loomed large. Suddenly, the door creaked open. The man who had stood silently outside stepped in, his presence subdued yet foreboding. He scanned the room before locking eyes with Lucas. A pause hung in the air, a static charge that seemed to pull everyone's attention. All chatter died down as tension dripped from the ceiling like wax from a candle. "What's happening here?" he demanded, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "You think this will make a difference? I've seen community projects rise and fall, just like this one will." Lucas felt the weight of the man's disbelief anchoring the air. But instead of retreating, he squared his shoulders. "Change starts when we believe in each other. Our stories matter. We matter. Does that include the ones you've left behind?" The man stepped fully into the room, emotion barely masked behind his stern expression. "What about the ones who never spoke up? You think they will just fall in line because you have a nice plan?" A tightness settled in Sarah's throat as she watched Lucas grapple with this challenge. The man had a point. Stories often remained unspoken, buried within shadows of fear and pain. How could they ensure that everyone felt included? "Let me ask you, sir," Lucas began slowly, "what if we could identify those individuals and bring them in? What if we made it our mission to include every voice, no matter how quiet?" The man hesitated, as if caught off guard by the directness, and Lucas seized the opportunity. "Let us create a community where no one is lost in silence. Together, we can create paths to reach them, wherever they are." Sarah watched as uncertainty cracked the man's icy facade. The room held its breath, anticipating his reaction. After a long pause, he finally spoke, his voice much quieter now. "You think it's possible? That people will trust you enough to share their pain?" "I believe they will," Lucas replied, sincerity overflowing in his voice. "If we show them that we care." The atmosphere shifted as the man considered this, and Sarah sensed the collective heartbeat grow louder. Hope began to percolate, bubbling beneath the surface. As discussions resumed, every spoke word felt like a brick being laid on that fragile foundation Lucas envisioned. Connections began forming organically among the members of the community, an unspoken promise hanging in the air. But even as they began to chart a course, the clouds outside darkened, a reminder of the storms that still loomed. Would the power of their shared vision withstand the challenge ahead? As they focused on their next steps, Sarah couldn't shake off the wave of uncertainty crashing over her. The nights. Darkness promised many obstacles, shadows looming like ghosts from their past. She couldn't help but wonder if everyone was ready to confront their fears together. Just as more ideas began to flow, a loud clap of thunder boomed outside. Everyone paused, eyes darting toward the windows. Will that storm break us? Or will it strengthen our roots? Sarah whispered, heart pounding at the question hanging between them, what awaited them in the darkness. The thunder rolled again, sending shivers through the room, but nobody moved. Sarah felt the electricity in the air, the pulse of uncertainty forming a chasm between their growing hope and the looming tempest outside. Eyes turned back to Lucas, who stood firm, determination etched across his face. He could sense the battle waging within everyone, fear of the past clashing with the dream of a brighter future. Let us not let fear control us. Lucas's voice rang out, filling the apprehensive silence. This storm is a reminder that we can weather anything if we stand together. He glanced around the circle, making eye contact with each person, meeting their eyes one by one, as if passing the torch of hope into their hands. Yeah. Someone cheered, breaking the tension. We've got to be the storm. We can make noise, tell our stories, and change what's broken. It was Anna, a shy woman who formerly seemed too timid to speak up, her voice now filled with conviction. The crowd buzzed with renewed energy. Sarah felt a sense of warmth wash over her. Maybe they could do this. Maybe they could turn the tide. Lucas smiled at Anna. Exactly. Each storm can scatter seeds. Let's be those seeds. We plant ourselves in this soil and thrive despite the winds. It's our moment to shine. A murmur of agreement spread through the group, transforming the atmosphere into one of fierce camaraderie. Each face reflected the spark of shared purpose, hearts beating in synchronized rhythm as the conversation picked up speed. I want to share, a new voice piped in, a young man with bright, eager eyes. My family, they were pushed aside when they spoke up about their struggles. I want to make sure others don't feel that way. As he spoke, warmth flowed through the room. Each story offered a glimpse into the lives that longed for connection, for their voices to be heard. The stories wove together, creating a quilt of experience and resilience. Just as the thunder rumbled louder, someone suggested they start drafting a plan, a tangible showcase of their collective voices. Sarah felt her heart race with possibility. They could craft a community mural, telling their stories through art, words, and symbols. A space where everyone could be seen and heard. In the mix of enthusiasm, the man who had originally questioned them stood at the edge, still skeptical but noticeably softened. He watched as the community sparked to life around Lucas, pulling everyone into the whirlpool of creativity and healing. Maybe this could work, he muttered under his breath, glancing at Sarah, whose heart skipped as hope flickered in his eyes, but then, out of nowhere, the lights flickered, casting shadows that danced across their determined faces. A countdown began within Sarah's chest. A sense of urgency grew as the storm intensified. We have to act fast, Lucas urged, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Let us take this moment and run with it while we can. As they huddled closer, sharing ideas and laughter amid the looming chaos, the building's foundational cracks whispered beneath them, reminders of challenges they still needed to face. Suddenly, a loud crash outside sent everyone jumping. The moment felt suspended in time, heartbeats drumming, uncertainty thick in the air. What was that? Sarah murmured, her pulse racing. Outside, the storm's full fury unleashed. But within the room, a fire had ignited, a calling to confront the shadows rather than escape them. With every soul ready to dive into the murky waters of their fears, Sarah couldn't help but wonder how far they could swim before they sank. As they braced against the storm, a new voice broke through the din. What if we're not just fighting against the storm, but also for our past? Could they turn this tide toward healing, or would the tempest drown their dreams before they took root? The room fell silent, the echo of that last question hanging like a dark cloud as the storm raged outside. All eyes shifted to the young man who had spoken, his face lit with both fear and resolve. It felt like the weight of their past was crashing down on them, mirroring the chaos brewing beyond the walls. "What do you mean?" Lucas asked, pulling the others back into the moment, drawing out that spark of communal courage. "Our past is part of us, yes, but we're here to write a new story. We can't let it define how we move forward." Sarah's heart raced as she felt the energy shift again. The storm outside, so wild and ruthless, suddenly felt like the inner turmoil of each person in the room, their struggles bubbling to the surface. She caught Anna's eye, who nodded slightly, ready to build on the fire already ignited. "Maybe," Anna began, her voice trembling but gaining confidence, "we need to each face what held us back. Acknowledge it, then use it." "I agree," the young man interjected. "What if we shared our stories of pain and loss but framed them as part of our journey? It doesn't just have to be about what hurt us, it can also be about how we fought through it." Sarah watched as people leaned in, interest sparking in their eyes. It was a raw, vulnerable moment, one that drew them deeper into the emotional wellspring they were all part of. Each story shared would be a step toward healing, and they would do it together. "Let us dig up the roots," Lucas encouraged. "We can't plant without understanding where we came from." As stories began to flow, it felt as if branches were breaking away, revealing the untouched soil beneath. A mother spoke of her struggles with being seen as just a statistic, a number lost in the shuffle of neglect. Someone else shared the pain of being pushed aside due to their background. With each revelation, the shadows in the room grew less intimidating, each defeated fear punctuated by the thunder outside. A wave of collective empathy washed over them. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes, not just from the sadness of their experiences but from the power of unity. They were becoming a chorus, each voice building toward a transformative melody. Just then, a deafening crash echoed from outside, startling them again. The lights flickered wildly, casting eerie shadows that danced like specters across the walls. "Is anyone hurt?" someone called, panic slicing through the warmed air. "And no, I don't think so," the young man stammered, but the uncertainty crept back into the atmosphere. "Stay calm," Lucas shouted over the noise. "We're stronger together. Let us keep focused on what we're creating. We can face anything." Sarah began, but her words faltered, caught in her throat. The storm wasn't just outside. It was in every soul gathered, pulling them into its wild chaos. The tension was palpable. She felt the storm's pressure grow heavier both inside and outside, a compelling force that they were all grappling with. But there was also a flicker of defiance burning in her chest. If they could confront the storm unfolding now, wouldn't it prepare them for anything life threw their way? As the storm raged both inside and out, Sarah's resolve solidified. They weren't just facing external chaos, they were preparing to weather their own internal storms as well. Could they harness this power and emerge stronger, or would they succumb to the familiar despair? The lightning flashed, momentarily illuminating their fearful faces. Together, they could transcend whatever awaited them outside and potentially, within. Then, with a sudden rush, a crack of thunder roared, rattling the building and making hearts leap. It felt like a warning, a catalyst for change. "Now is the time," Lucas shouted, summoning courage amidst the commotion. "Let us share every single one of us. It's time we stand up for ourselves." As vulnerability danced in the air, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, would their shared story set them free, or would the storm uproot their newfound resolve? The air crackled with tension as the group shifted in their seats, the storm outside echoing the storm within. The flickering lights cast erratic shadows on their faces, revealing a blend of fear and determination. Sarah could sense the urgency as each heartbeat synchronized with the rumble of thunder. This was their moment. "Who is going to start?" someone prompted, breaking the silence that had settled like thick fog. The question hung there, demanding an answer, and Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Memories swirled within her, a mix of regret, heartache, and resilience. But she wasn't sure if she was ready to share yet. Then, Anna stepped forward, taking a deep breath. "I will," she said, her voice steadying as she locked eyes with Sarah. "A few years ago, I lost my job. It felt like the end of everything. I was in a dark place, struggling to make ends meet. I thought I was alone, but the truth is, I now realize I wasn't." The room hung on her every word. Sarah felt a weight lift slightly. Anna's openness was a balm for her own uncertainty. Anna continued, "In that darkness, I found a community of friends who lifted me up. We shared our struggles, and I learned I was stronger than I thought. That loss turned into a chance for growth." Lucas nodded, encouragement glowing in his eyes. "That's powerful, Anna. Loss doesn't have to mean defeat. Each of us has a choice: fight back or let it consume us." Inspired, another participant spoke, a man Sarah didn't know well. "I once felt lost after a breakup. I was angry, I kept blaming myself, feeling ashamed. But then I learned to redirect that energy. I started painting again, finding a voice I didn't know I had. Art became my escape." More stories emerged from the group, each one layering emotion. Over the last heartbreak turned to hope, struggle transformed into strength. It was a dance of vulnerability, each person stepping forward to share, slowly chipping away at the walls they had built. Sarah listened intently, tears streaming down her cheeks as she absorbed it all. They were not just sharing stories, they were building something new. And then, in a moment of catharsis, Sarah found her voice. "I've faced my own demons too," she said, her heart racing. "For years, I tried to be someone I wasn't, thinking it would bring me happiness. But all it did was create a fracture. I was always looking for approval, never satisfied." The words poured out of her, and with each confession, she felt lighter. "It wasn't until I was alone, really alone, that I discovered who I am beneath the layers. It felt terrifying at first, but I've started to embrace that truth. I'm still learning to love myself." A wave of encouragement washed over her. The faces in the room were filled with admiration, as if they had all just passed through a threshold together. The storm outside didn't seem so intimidating anymore. Suddenly, there was a sense of empowerment, of rising above not just the rain and thunder but their own insecurities. But before they could revel in the weight of their revelations, a fierce wind rattled the windows, and yet another crash echoed from outside. Panic flared up again, cutting through the warm glow of connection they had just fostered. What was that? One voice broke the moment, fear creeping back into the atmosphere. "Stay together. We can do this," Lucas shouted, rallying them again. Just as they began to focus, the lights flickered again and then extinguished entirely, plunging them into darkness. Murmurs of anxiety rippled through them, and Sarah's breath caught in her throat. What were they about to face now? As one united group, in the pitch blackness, she could feel the proximity of everyone. This was not just about storms or thunder, it was about the battles they each fought in life. But what if the real test was yet to come? Would they rise together as they had begun to today, or would the forces around them pull them apart? The next moment might change everything. As the darkness enveloped them, time felt suspended. Sarah's heart raced, pulse pounding against her chest like a drum. Questions loomed. What would they do now? Would they stand strong, united in this storm, or let their fears unravel the bond they had just begun to forge? "Stay close," Lucas called out, his voice cutting through the heavy silence. Every gaze turned toward him, desperate for direction. His unwavering spirit shone like a beacon amidst the shadows. "We can get through this. Together." With a flicker of hope sparking in the stillness, people began inching closer, forming a tight circle. Sarah could feel their warmth, bodies pressed together like guardian stones against an uncertain world. Then, as if the universe was testing their resolve, a loud crash echoed again. This time, the sound reverberated like a thunderclap in their very bones. A gust of wind rattled the windows, sending chills racing down Sarah's spine. But inside her, something shifted. It was as if the intensity of the storm ignited a raw courage. "We're not going to fall apart," she whispered, her own voice steady. "We're going to hold on to each other." "Exactly," shouted the young man who had first spoken up. "We've been through worse than this, haven't we?" A chorus of murmurs mixed with nods rose in response. They had stood together against isolation and pain. They could do it again. "I want to share, too," Anna exclaimed, her voice cutting through the darkness. "I lost my family not long ago. I felt like I'd never recover, but through it all, I found this community and support from all of you. It's been healing." Others chimed in, unearthed stories washing over everyone like raindrops in a summer storm, each revealing pieces of their collective resilience, love, and light. Together, they spun a tapestry of courage, showing where there had only been shadows before. "Fear can't control us." Lucas's voice rose above, fierce and unyielding. "Let us keep sharing. Let us push through the darkness together." The realization washed over Sarah, a tangible reminder of their strength. Each word shared was a stroke on the canvas of their future, dispelling the doubts that had clouded them. They could forge a path to redemption not only for Maplewood Air but for each other. "Let us promise to support one another," Sarah called out, her heart swelling with urgency. "Together, we can face whatever winds blow our way." The group erupted with agreement. It spun into louder cries of yes. "And I'm in." As voices joined in unison, the sound echoing like a battle cry against the chaos swirling around them. Then, the lights flickered back into life, a warm luminescence that revealed their faces, framed with determination and newfound hope. The tension in the room shifted, replaced by a sense of camaraderie that glimmered brighter than any storm cloud. With each beat of shared purpose, Sarah glanced around, taking in the emotional weight lifting from their collective shoulders. Together, they transformed vulnerability into strength. Lucas, eyes glimmering with gratitude, smiled wide. "This is just the beginning, everyone. We will not only save Maplewood Air, we will thrive." As the crowd erupted with renewed energy, laughter and tears intermingled. The shadows of self-doubt began to recede, replaced by the brightness of possibility. They were more than a community, they were a family, bonds forged through shared fears and triumphs, soon to embark on a journey toward healing. One by one, hands raised in solidarity, people shared how they would each contribute to the newfound collective. Plans took shape: a mural, community events, and even outreach programs. They were ready to turn their experiences into creative expressions of resilience, bringing light to every corner of Maplewood. "We'll create the change we want to see," Sarah proclaimed, her voice brimming with fervor. "Let us honor our past by using it to lift each other up." As they cheered one last time, Sarah reveled in the warmth of connection. This time, when the thunder roared outside, it was no longer a fearsome sound of dread but a triumphant echo of their evolution from isolation to unity, from fear to unwavering support. "The storm may rage," Lucas stated, heart ablaze with hope, "but we will always stand together, bound by our stories and our love." As the final words echoed in the room, Sarah smiled, feeling the weight of despair lifting. They were ready not just to face whatever came next, but to thrive. Moments like this remind us of the power of connection and courage. It's time to believe in one another more than ever. You need to subscribe now to follow more heartwarming stories that inspire. Leave a like to help this channel grow. Your support is crucial. Comment below with your reactions to this transformative journey and how it touched your heart. And please, share this with at least 5 friends who need a boost of hope. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the message of unity and resilience.